Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Two Man Game. As always, we're your hosts. I'm Cone. This is Ryan. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. The last time we recorded, I was taking the GRE. Everyone was guessing down below. I want to remember. All right. I'm gonna pull up my phone so I can check his name. But somebody got it right, and I actually asked him for his Venmo. And he says, "I don't do that, man. I'm just happy you did well." So shout out to you, man. And he's also a Thunder fan. So
we love to see it from Thunder fans.
Thunder fan got it right?
Yeah, of course. The Thunder fans know ball. That's typical.
Okay,
that's crazy. The first time I ever do a giveaway of sorts, and he says he doesn't even want it.
Yeah, it was James Mattingly 1352. I told him to send me his Venmo. He goes, "I'm glad I won, but I guess just for fun. Donated to buy someone else something. Well, I'll buy myself something. How about that?" He said, "Thunder up." So,
hey, we'll take the Thunder up, James. We appreciate you. Congratulations on guessing Ryan's score right on the GRE. Yeah, Ryan did pretty well. Went well over there on my end. Just been doing my usual thing, making YouTube videos when I can, been grinding. It's hard right now. It's the dead point of the off season. So thankfully we have another positional ranking for you. Today we're doing small forwards. We've done point guards. We've done shooting guards. So if you don't see a player on here and you're like, oh, they might be my team small forward, they're either in the shooting guards list already, or they might be on the power forwards list. Like, for example, there are no Chicago Bulls on here because P. Will is going to be their 4. Their 3 is probably be Zach LaVine, but we put him on the shooting guard list because that's kind of what he's played more so throughout his recent Bulls career. So the Bulls don't have anybody on this list because we're not going to put like a rookie and Matas Buzelis on here. So just letting you know, if you don't see a player on here that you feel like maybe should be, I'm just going off of what the projected depth charts are to kind of keep it a little bit simpler. But yeah, we've got our usual tiers S through F. And this is, as usual, all according to what's the word? Proportional, I guess, is what we're saying. It's relative to the other small forwards. Yep. So a player who's S tier on the small forward list, if we did an all around all of the NBA player tier list, they might not be an S tier player with some of the other guys. It's just based off small forward. So just because, again, someone's an S tier small forward, does that mean they're an S tier shooting guard or point guard or so on and so forth. So we're going to get into this. We're both excited for the...
Did you hear the woodpecker noise that just happened?
Woodpecker noise? No.
Dude, I didn't mean to interrupt and destroy the flow, but I'm just sitting here getting ready to I'm thinking about where I want to put LeBron, either C or D tier. No, I'm just kidding. And it sounded like there was a woodpecker coming out of the screen. I don't know.
From my end or on your end?
Dude, I don't know. I just heard it coming out of my computer. So hopefully that doesn't make the final cut. We'll see. If anyone else hears it, please let me know so they know I'm not crazy.
Yeah, if y'all heard the woodpecker, let me know. I heard nothing of the sort.
Dude, it literally sounded like a woodpecker. It was kind of crazy.
That must be on your end then. A woodpecker's eating the house. But yeah, we're going to go through this. I feel like that's kind of it. I think I hit all the beats as usual. I'll leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Notification bell so you don't miss out on all of our episodes. They come out once a week. Typically it's on Mondays, but because of Labor Day, we both have pretty busy weekends. So instead it's coming out on Wednesday, a couple of days later. So just a heads up, they will typically be Monday episodes if we keep that consistent, which we have recently. So, and yeah, after we do small forwards, power forwards, centers, because power forwards will be next week.
Next Monday. We'll try to get back to Monday for next week.
Yeah. And I mean, after we finish centers, I feel like we can get pretty quickly into like almost all around NBA predictions or something along the lines. Maybe we could each come with like 10 bold predictions for the season or something like that. So give us some ideas for other stuff you want to see in the future. Also, shout to y'all for the support on the recent episodes. They've been some of our best episodes.
Yeah, seriously, you guys have been killing it with the views and the comments and stuff. And Connor and I's goal is to get 1,000 subs by the time the NBA season starts. And I'll say it right now, Connor, see if you can get on board with me. If we get 1,000 subs before opening day of the NBA, we'll do a giveaway of sorts, whether it's a jersey or like a shirt. Like, we'll do something. I think we can come to agree on that. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm down. Yeah, if we hit 1,000 before the NBA season starts, which we're at about 700 right now, 694 as we're recording this. So hit the subscribe button if you want to be part of the giveaway, and it'll only be for people who are subscribed. So if you're over on Spotify, you got to come over to YouTube and subscribe as well.
What's NBA opening day? What's
it is October 21st or 22nd, I believe. NBA opening night 22nd.
Okay, so if we get it by then, someone will get a jersey or a shirt or something. We'll do something. We'll give back to you guys for all the support.
Yeah, we'll do a giveaway. We appreciate y'all. Oh, as I slide completely off the tier list. Let's go and get started though. Let's rank some small forwards. We're both excited, is what I was saying before the woodpecker interrupted, about this one, because it feels like one of those positional groups where it's going to be there are a lot of like really solid players, but there aren't that many like top tier guys compared to specifically like point guards. I remember shooting guards are also some crazy talent. Small forwards are really good players, but you'll see as we go through it. Now, first up, we have still one of the best players in the world in LeBron James, even though he's about to be 57. I mean, I think we both agree he's S tier. If it'll let me put him up in
A tier
for some reason, it won't. I need to zoom out.
Oh, Connor's being a hater.
It was too zoomed in. Well, let me put him up in S. But yeah, Bron's not the best player in the world anymore, but he's still a top 10 player. He still is an S tier small forward, maybe the best small forward in the league. Probably. We'll get through the list, but I would say he's still the best small forward in the NBA. It just feels like he's never going to slow down. Obviously, he's not the player he once was, but the fact that he's still this good with all this mileage on him doesn't make any sense.
Nope, not at all. And honestly, I know you're saying he's not the best player, but then you watch like the Olympics and it's like he can still be at that elite level. And it just doesn't seem like he's slowing down yet. I still really laugh at that tweet where it was like, thank God Bron's going to be gone in 10 years or whatever it was. And now Bron's still a top player on a team that's going to hopefully compete for the finals. So I just think it's hilarious. And I think no one should be taking Bron for granted. Like, even if you're a Michael Jordan believer and you'll never think that LeBron's a GOAT, which I think Connor and I are on the same page in that conversation.
We don't need to have the conversation right now.
Yeah, maybe, we don't need to have that conversation.
If y'all hit 1,000 likes before opening night, we'll have a GOAT conversation.
Yeah, we'll have a GOAT debate pod. But just don't take Bron for granted, guys. Like, come on. Even if you're like a LeBron hater for whatever reason, or you're a Jordan believer, just don't take him for granted.
I've never understood that, man. Maybe it's because we're a bit older now. I mean, I guess like when KD left the Thunder, I was 100%.
Shout out Kenny Beecham. Enjoy.
Yeah, shout enjoy basketball. But yeah, like I was definitely a KD hater. I won't lie. But I feel like as I've gotten older, as this
on the tier list
pops up, watch this. I'm gonna do some. I'm gonna hack into the mainframe. Hold on.
LeBron, they're trying to get LeBron.
Nope, got rid of it. Look at me.
Dang, bro. I mean, the outline there.
Yeah, the outline is still okay. Well, that did not work as nearly well as I was hoping it would. Do I need to delete that? Do I need to delete that? What am I? I think I've messed this up.
To the tier list?
I fixed it. We're good. Okay, successfully hacked into the mainframe and saved it with my ad block. But yeah, Bron is still the best small forward in the league, still a top 10 player. Like you said, I mean, the fact that he can be the best player on any given night against any player in the league, even if he's not consistently that guy, he still has the ability to jump up to that number one spot on any given night, which is completely absurd. Andrew Wiggins is up next.
This is an enigma, I feel like.
Yeah, Andrew Wiggins makes no sense. He is one of the most confusing players in the league. A few years ago, he was the starting small forward for the Western Conference All-Star team. Last year or the year prior to this past season, he was bad. This year, he was bad again. Maybe he's just bad. Like,
I think he's just.
I'm even tempted by D a little bit. Like Wiggins,
I guess we can start him in C. I kind of have an idea who I want A and B. I think we can start him in C, and then, but I could be down to move him down to D as we kind of formulate. If you haven't seen one of these episodes before, don't assume the first tier that we put someone is where they're going to end up at the end.
Yeah, things will change.
Because Connor and I will always go through this, and we'll go through other players, and we're like, actually, they don't belong here. So don't freak out if we put someone somewhere. We probably aren't moving LeBron from S tier, but Wiggins and C tier could be a thing we move.
Yeah, man, like Wiggins is just only 13 points per game this past year.
And not good either. It's not like he's playing a good role either.
I mean, efficiency 45% from the field, 35% from deep. He cannot shoot a free throw for anything, 75%. And that was his best year by far as a Warrior. Year prior, he shot 61%, which doesn't make sense when you take a look at Wiggins. C's good for now. I could see us moving to D because there are a lot of really solid small forwards, but we'll get to that when we get there. And I just hope we get a bounce back from Wiggins at some point because it's weird how quickly he dropped off. I mean, I don't think he should have been an all-star starter. The K-pop fans clearly did think so, but he was a worthy all-star player in that year, and he was critical to them winning the finals, and he kind of fell off. Klay Thompson. It feels like a B to me.
I was going to say a BT. B. I was saying B two and tier. I combined the two words.
Yeah.
B tier. B tier. Yes.
B tier 2.
Yeah, I agree. It's a B tier. Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
I just think like he's not, prime Klay is probably more in that SA tier, and he was probably more of a shooting guard at that time. He's kind of moved over to the small forward. I feel like because he's gotten older. You saw the Warriors try doing that with their 3-guard lineup they ran, and now in Dallas he's going to be playing alongside Luka and Kyrie a lot. So he kind of slides into that small forward position. And defensively, we'll have to see if he can hold his own. That Dallas defense could be really suspect with him at the 3 when you also don't have 2 of the strongest defensive guards in Luka and Kyrie. But I think Klay showed a little bit of life towards the end of the season with the Warriors, and I think he's still got something in the tank. And I think a new spot in Dallas will kind of energize him a bit. I expect a good year from Klay.
I expect a good year too. Yeah, the defense is the biggest worry with Klay because he was an all defensive level player in his prime. And I mean, when you have a couple of massive season ending injuries, you're of course going to drop off in that regard. But I mean, even though Klay was hyper inconsistent last year, and like you said, he was better towards the end of the season, kind of got a spark lit under him. It felt like when he got moved to the bench, although he ended it with, of course, the 0 points, 0 of 10 against the Kings that everyone loves to talk about. He did still shoot 9 threes a game on 38.7%. Like that's still really, really good shooting, especially you put that next to Kyrie and Luka. I mean, he's going to be knocked down. He's going to really revolutionize that Mavericks offense against good defenses because we saw against the Celtics, one of the big reasons why the Mavs offense completely dissipated was because they would just leave Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington alone for threes above the break. Like corner, they would get out there a little bit, but you put them towards the top of the key on one of the elbows and they were just letting them have it. And it was just brick after brick. Klay Thompson, that's not a player you can do that with, which is going to really open the game up a lot more for Luke and Kyrie. So I do still think Klay is a good player. He's not who he used to be. I feel like this would be a better spot for him here in Dallas. So I agree. See, this is the problem because like Derrick Jones Jr., I feel like I would have him over Wiggins at this point. I think he's not a B. I don't think he's B tier.
I was gonna have him in C. If you think he's head and shoulders above Wiggins, you can move Wiggins down to B.
It's just so hard. Maybe it's just because I keep hoping we're going to see the Wiggins bounce back, but like
the thing with Wiggins is I think Wiggins still has like the ceiling that could potentially lift him up a little bit. Whereas Derrick Jones Jr. is kind of like, you know what you're going to get. You're getting a 3-and-D role player that was kind of like out of the picture for a couple rosters in consecutive years. He was kind of just like the guy you would put in if you wanted some energy and some high flying, dunking. But I feel like with Dallas, he kind of really established himself as a solid role player, and you saw him got paid because of it. So, I mean, he's not in the B tier level because I feel like S tier is like the GOATs, A tier is like the All-Stars, B tiers are like the really above average starters, and then C tiers are kind of where you get into that middle ground of like either role players or like average starters. And I feel like he kind of fits there.
Yeah, that's fair.
Wiggins is worse, though.
I think when I said that, I'm like looking at the numbers now and reevaluating. I think because my expectations at one point with Wiggins were so high, I think I'm just so much lower on him now, and it feels like he's just bad at this point. But I mean, the efficiency is right around what Derrick Jones Jr. is. DJJ was really good defensively this past season, but he doesn't provide as much on-ball shot creation as Wiggins can. So I'm fine with both of them being in C tier. I'm interested to see what he does in LA because I do wonder if maybe his big breakthrough was a product of being in Dallas. Like, I don't think he's gonna be a bad player in Los Angeles. But I don't know if he's going to be as productive as he would have been otherwise continuing to play alongside Luke and Kyrie. Like, go get your bag. I'm glad he got paid because he absolutely deserved it with the way he played this season. I'm just very interested to see how he progresses as a player no longer in that system. I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on.
I think the one thing that will help him out is he still has a really good ball handler and like Dimer.
Playing along Harden is going to help. If they didn't have Harden, I would be very concerned. But having Harden's going to still be a helpful tool for him. Harrison Barnes, I feel like again kind of goes with this C spot.
I think he does also
kind of keep racking up the C
I feel like Harrison Barnes is just one of those guys. He's just like there. Like he's not bad, but he's also like for so long we were saying the Kings need to ditch Harrison Barnes, not because he's terrible, but just because they can do better. And I feel like that's what puts him in the C tier because he's a very solid NBA player, but I don't think he's like lighting the world on fire for anyone. He just kind of does his job and gets out of there.
Yeah, I'm glad that the Spurs brought him in. I'm excited to see what he does next to Chris Paul, Wemby. Like, he's not going to be insane or anything like that. Like you said, I mean, he's just kind of a productive player. He's not great defensively anymore. Did shoot 38% from deep, so that'll be some nice spacing for Wemby to have. And I think just having that veteran, it'll be good for them. Like, he's not going to be a big needle mover, but I think adding just some established talent on that roster is going to be good. And the Kings, obviously, they moved him out for DeMar DeRozan. That's an upgrade, and we will talk about DeMar later on in this tier list. Barnes was a power forward last year, but this year with the Spurs, they'll project him to be a 3 with Jeremy Sohan probably still in the starting lineup. We'll see. I mean, if you still have, like Keldon Johnson out there, could we see Stephon Castle start some games next to Chris Paul in the backcourt? We don't really know yet, but Barnes, I think, lands as another C. Jaylen Brown is up next, and this is where we have to have a little bit of a conversation because LeBron is an S tier. Jaylen Brown is one of the best small forwards as well. He might be the second or third best small forward as we continue to go down this list. Is Braun alone on S for right now? Because I don't...
Hear me out. I'm looking at guys I like in A tier. I'm not going to spoil it. I see... Hold on. I'm looking. I see 4 guys on the line of people in front of us that I think are A tier, not including Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
And I think Jaylen Brown should be S tier. Finals MVP, puts up crazy numbers. The raw talent is like I know some people complain that he can get lazy on defense. He can't dribble with his left hand. Like there's the flaws in his game that people complain about. But in terms of like a small forward, I mean,
this season was the best year of his career.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and not including the Finals MVP. Like, he really, really was locked in defensively. He was a menace on that end. And it is easier when you have Jrue Holiday, Derek White, KP all out there. But he was locked in on that end. He wasn't putting up the points per game he typically does, but he was playing a little bit more within himself, took over when they needed him to. And yeah, he was Finals MVP. I agree. I'm good to put Jaylen Brown up here in S tier. Braun is the better player, but I think when we're talking small forwards, it's hard not to put a guy who, again, literally just won Finals MVP on a dominant Celtics team is undeserved. It's hard to say he's undeserving of S tier. So I'm good with putting JB.
It reminds me of kind of like what we did with our last couple of tiers, how we had Kyrie in the S tier, even though we thought Kyrie might have been slightly less than the other guys in S tier. Like, I don't remember who he was with, but it was guys we thought were a little bit better. But he was definitely better than the A tier guys. And I think that's probably what's going to end up happening with what our A tier turns out to be. Like, Jaylen Brown might not be up there with Braun, but he's up above the A tier guys, which is why he's in S tier. And we just kind of agree that he might not be on Braun's level, but he's definitely above the A tier level.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so next up we have OG Anunoby.
One of my A tiers.
Yeah, I think OG has to be up there. He's not going to give you the offensive upside that some of these other players are, but one of the best defenders in the league. He's just so steady. I don't know if he's ever going to be an all-star. And it felt like for a while we're like, oh, wait till OG breaks out a little bit, he'll be an all-star. I don't know if he's ever going to be. Maybe he gets like the Wiggins all-star appearance where
where he's like a good player on a good team.
Say the Knicks this season are just destroying teams. Maybe it's like Brunson, Randall, and OG gets a spot. Mikal Bridges could also be in that conversation too. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if he ever gets one, but he's just such a good player.
He is. I think steady was the best way to describe him.
He feels so reliable. And he was like a complete revelation when they brought him in defensively. That Knicks defense completely transformed when OG got there. He's going to be vital to the Knicks this season because if they want to beat the Celtics, you need great wing defenders. And that's exactly what OG and Mikal are going to do. This Knicks team is built to try and slow down the Celtics. I'm really excited to see how it plays out throughout the season. But yeah, I'm cool with OG being an A tier. He's definitely better than Klay Thompson at this point. Not quite up to the level of some of the other guys, but yeah. Next up, we got Cam Johnson. I feel like a B.
I think B's fair. I was considering C, but I think the offensive upside is there. And the fact that the Nets aren't going to have a lot of options, I think he's going to get a big chance to prove himself as like a go-to guy this year. And so I think part of me thinks he might be closer to the C tier, but I think the ceiling of him might keep him in the B tier. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm going a little bit back and forth now the more that I think about it with Cam Johnson. Right around 13 points per game. The efficiency around 40% from 3 on 6 attempts. Not a crazy rebounder for the small forward or power forward position, wherever you want to place him. He was listed as it's probably be him and Dorian Finney-Smith, one playing the either. He might end up being the power forward. This was just where he was listed on ESPN. So we're sticking with that to make it easier, like I said earlier. Another guy who's kind of just steady. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't put him quite in the Klay Thompson's tier and maybe put him a little bit more at C. It's also tough to evaluate because he hasn't played in like a winning environment in quite some time. I feel like Cam Johnson, you put him on, he was one of the players I would have loved on the Thunder. A team that I drew up a trade for on a BR stream not too long ago was him landing with the Pacers. And the Pacers give up Jarris Walker, who they did draft top 10, so maybe they don't want to, but they give up a player who really isn't going to get any play because I do think the Pacers are going to have to consolidate a little bit coming up here. It's just a stacked roster. They've got a lot of good talent. They've got young players who need minutes. But I was like, what if they traded Jarris Walker, and I can't remember who the other player was, and added Cam Johnson, who's just that reliable three-point threat, can defend a little bit. I don't know. I feel like at some point throughout this season, Cam Johnson is going to land on a really good team as that final piece of some sorts. And the fans over there are going to immediately fall in love with him because he's just one of those very reliable and steady role players who you kind of want at this 3 spot. I feel like that's a term we're going to use a lot, steady and reliable for players that land here at the 3.
I can see us changing Cam Thomas, or not. I see Cam Johnson. I called him 3 different names there.
There was someone in the comments last episode was not happy about Cam Thomas's ranking at all.
Yeah, he said we gave Dante DiVincenzo credit for being solid. And first of all, Dante DiVincenzo was leading a playoff team, and Cam Thomas was on the Brooklyn Nets. So
I am excited to see completely unleashed Cam Thomas this year. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, Lauri Markkanen, A.
I think A is very fair.
It's tough because I definitely feel like he's better than OG, but I do think it's like Lowry is this unbelievable offensive weapon, while OG Anunoby is this unbelievable.
It's like the best offensive and best defensive options that might not be as well rounded.
Bro, imagine how good it would be if you combine the two of them into a single player.
That would be an S+ tier player. Let me tell you.
That would be the best player in the league potentially. You give Lauri Markkanen and OG Anunoby's defense.
That's a cool hybrid.
Lowry's another player that, I mean, he got extended, so he's not going to get traded this season from the Jazz. But I'm just excited to see him on a good team at some point. Yeah, I just want to see, maybe the Jazz do build a good team around him, and that's fine. But I want to see this version of Lowry on like a really competitive team because I think he can be unbelievable for a squad. So, yeah, I'm cool with this. Brandon Ingram is up next.
He's A for me, personally.
Yeah, I think I'll go A. The playoffs were bad for him.
They were bad, but he was playing hurt, and he was really hobbled towards the end of the year. So I'm going to give him a little bit of benefit. I think sometimes people forget how good Brandon Ingram is.
Yeah, he was also in the torture chamber. We've all been there at some point.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, BI 21 points per game, 5.5 rebound or 5.5 assists, about 5 boards. Efficiency was decent. Yeah, I think Brandon Ingram's good. Like, I think you can put him in the A tier. I could see a world where you move him down a little bit to B tier, but I don't know if I'm ready to do that. It's hard to evaluate, too, when he's playing alongside a lot of talented players like CJ McCollum's taking a lot of shots, and Zion Williamson's taking a lot of shots, and Jonas Valanciunas was there last year, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of mouths to feed, so I think the numbers do come down, but I still believe that Brandon Ingram is really good. So, yeah, I'm cool with A tier here.
I also don't think he was fully healthy towards the end of the year. I think
he was definitely not. Like, in that series against the Thunder, as much as Lou Dort was giving him problems, I also do think he was hobbled. He just wasn't being as aggressive as he typically does. Mm-hmm. So, Kuzma is up next.
I think he's a B tier.
Yeah, I think he's B as well. Another player who I feel like I'm excited to see him someday on a good team again.
I know. I miss Lakers Kuzma.
Like, Wizards Kuzma has been so good, and I do feel like solid. I think that's solid. We keep using that word. I feel like
this is steady. We're just new S words for every player.
Those are our buzzwords for this episode.
We'll get to some bad
words. Gets moved this season. I don't imagine him finishing the year on the Wizards. I just don't see it. I think he gets traded like Jonas Valanciunas. So, yeah. Bilal Coulibaly is up next. I think a breakout year is absolutely foreseeable this season, but for right now, I feel like a D.
I think D's there too. I think that he has a lot of raw talent. And I went to one of his first games in Washington. I went to see the Wizards play when the Spurs were there. So seeing him against Wemby was really cool. And just like the ups he was getting on like some of his plays, he's going to be good. I think he's got a lot of raw talent, and I don't think he's going to be in this D tier very long. We're just kind of going after what we've seen so far. Mm-hmm. And I think Bilal, I really hope the Wizards unleash him because I think he can be really good.
Yeah, well, that's part of why I want them to trade Kuzma. I mean, they moved off of Denny, so now a spot's opened up for him. Yep. He should be in that starting lineup full time. And the big thing for me is efficiency was not good. Like, it was 43% from the field, 34% from deep. But for a player where it was like, okay, coming to the league, he's going to be awful offensively. The defensive tools are there.
I was going to say, I don't think he was awful offensively.
He was more efficient than I thought he was going to be. Defensively looked phenomenal a lot of nights. You know, inconsistency as a rookie. But I think Bilal is going to be amazing. He was one of my favorite players coming into the draft. A lot of people talked about the Thunder drafting him, and I would have loved that. I'm a big Bilal believer, and I really just honestly like what the Wizards are building over there. I'm excited for their future. I like him. I like Bob Carrington a good bit. I know Alex Sarr was awful in Summer League, but I think he's going to be good. Yeah, I think the Wizards are doing a good job going through the rebuild. It's a shame the Jordan Poole contract's one of the worst in the NBA. Josh Green is up next.
I think another D.
Yeah, I think D as well. He was pretty good with the Hornets, if I remember correctly, towards the end of this past season, which is weird. Or no, sorry. He's with the Hornets now with Dallas towards the end of the season. Sorry, I mix up those two teams. It's weird to imagine him as a Hornet now.
I think he can get a pretty good role. I think a lot of people in Dallas were, because when Dallas kind of stripped down their roster, especially when they traded Kyrie and they lost a lot of their good role players, like when they were trading the Dorian Finney-Smith types of players, right? I think people thought that Josh Green was going to kind of emerge. That's why a player like him was expendable, but we never really saw the breakout. I think he was just kind of like a okay role player where we would see flashes. Like he would have a random night, like he would go 4 scoreless nights in a row, and then he would get 20 points and have like 3 steals, and then he would go back to getting like 2 points a game. So I'd be interested to see if Charlotte gives him like a consistent role, and they just kind of say like, all right, go out there and go play ball. Because I think he'd be a good supplemental role player next to guys like LaMelo and Miles Bridges and company. So we'll see. I think though D tier is appropriate for now, but he's another guy I could see going more towards like that C tier.
Yeah, it just feels like he wasn't quite ready to be a player for the Hornets, or not the Hornets. I now mixing up the Hornets with the Mavericks over and over again.
Very different teams with very different track records.
Very different teams. Yeah, it just didn't feel like he was ready to be a consistent piece on the championship contending team every night. I'm excited to see what it is in Charlotte too. I like what they're building too. I'm really high on that young core they've put together, and I think adding guys that could be good role players like a Grant Williams through trade or Josh Green is something that could pay dividends. I believe the Hornets could be a playing team this season, and we'll make like our full season predictions before the year, but I do like the Hornets as one of those sleeper teams. Michael Porter Jr.
This is tough for me, man. I'm between B and C because I think upside.
I think he's got to be B at minimum.
Okay, then I'm going B. He's definitely not A in my opinion. I just think the defense is still terrible. And then the offense I felt like at times was really streaky last year. And you kind of saw that when the Nuggets started to get less depth on their team and they needed, more consistent production from their top guys. If like MPJ or Jamal Murray didn't have a good night, like the team was really struggling to get buckets sometimes.
Yeah, MPJ, he can be a little bit inconsistent. When he's on, he's on. He's one of the most unstoppable players when he's on fire. Yeah, they needed a little bit more in the playoffs at times. Not that he was inefficient, like he was shooting 40% from deep, but it gets hard when you are without, the typical depth pieces you have if you're the Nuggets and Jamal Murray was struggling. MPJ is in a bit of a tough spot. He feels like a player that theoretically, say the Nuggets are disappointing this season or don't like make it out of the second round again, I could see them shaking it up, and I feel like MPJ could be one of those potential trade candidates.
I agree.
Just because he's got a larger candidate, and he's going to have some value around the league too. MPJ is really good, but not quite at the level I wouldn't say.
I think B is perfectly fair.
Yeah, he's not quite the level of the A guys. Paul George is up next. Now Sixer. He's your guy.
I know. See, here's the thing. I think out of what we have so far, he's the definite number 3 guy, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But just because of his age and he's not quite LeBron, I feel like A tier could be appropriate, but it's tough, man. Because I think out of all those guys in A tier, like if the Sixers had an offseason and they got any of those guys in A tier or Paul George, I think I would have been just as happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like he almost belongs there for now, just because he kind of had some disappointing moments last year. Doesn't really seem like he can be the top guy anymore, but he seems like he can still be really good number 2 or 3. Which I think he's going to flourish in Philly that way. Not as much of a two-way player as he probably was in his prime, but I still think he's really, really, really good. And a lot of people are kind of discounting how good he is.
Yeah, PG, he still is really good. And I feel like with Philly, this is the perfect spot for him. Why I like the Philly signing of him so much is because they're not going to ask him to do the 1 option. They're not going to ask him to even be the 2 option. He's the 3 next to Maxey and Embiid. And as that 3 guy, that connecting wing, I think PG is going to be really good. I feel like A is a good spot. We've got LeBron in the Finals MVP and S tier. There's one guy coming up who maybe we could talk a little bit about getting up there, but we'll have to have a conversation. So yeah, I'm cool with A for right now. The more I look at it, it feels like, actually, never mind. I was gonna say OG feels a little bit out of like order here, but it's hard to say because
I think the defensive upside with being really
defensive impact he brings. Let's be the guys who look into the defense. Too many people talk strictly buckets. Let's talk defense.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett is up
Speaking
next.
of buckets and no defense, I'm just kidding.
RJ was so good with the Raptors at the end of last season. I'm tempted to put him B as well, just because of what he did with Toronto. Like on the full season,
above those C tier guys.
I'm with it. I'm willing to buy into the RJ Barrett upside with Toronto because
I agree.
In the 32 games he played there, 55% from the field, 39% from deep, 22 points per game, 6.4 rebounds, 4.1 assists. Like he was really, really good. So I'm good to buy into the upside a little bit. I feel like he can be, if he keeps those numbers up, he's definitely a step above the guys in C tier.
Absolutely.
It's a matter of if there's that consistency, because we've seen flashes from RJ before and it never really stayed. But I'm cool with this. I'm cool to buy into that. And for that reason with him, and we talked about quickly in the point guards, or I think it was the point guards one. Yeah, I think we had him on that list. I feel like between those two guys and Scotty Barnes upside, the Raptors are another team, like I mentioned with the Hornets, that I would not be surprised if they are, like, maybe surprisingly to some people, decent this season.
I think the Raptors could pull a little bit of a Pacers from last year. Wouldn't be surprised. You know how the Pacers kind of came out of nowhere being really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they'll still end up behind like those behind those top 8 teams, but they could. There's a world where I think they could be firmly the 9th seed in the Eastern Conference, and like I said this in a recent video. If I have to play, I don't want to play the Raptors if I'm one of those top teams, and I have to play like or not top teams, because I'm talking about a playing scenario, but say you're like the team that has to play in that last 8-9 game to see who makes it in or out of the playoffs. I don't want to face the Raptors of all those teams. I feel like they've got a lot of interesting talent. Lou Dort is up next.
I have my take. You tell me your biased Thunder take first, though.
I think I'd go B with Lou.
I was thinking C.
It's tough. The rim finishing is bad. It's gotten better, but it's still bad. He's an incredible defender. The reason I want to put him up in B is because he moved himself to 40% from 3. But I guess I do look at it, and I don't know if Lou's quite to level some of these other guys. So I'm cool with C. It hurts me a lot. But when we get to Jalen Williams is when I'll get a take off, and then we'll have that conversation.
You're going to put Jalen Williams in the A tier?
We'll have a conversation when we get there. Grayson Allen is up next. You put Lou Dort in C tier, we will have a conversation.
Yeah.
Grayson Allen.
I think another C.
Yeah, I think C as well. Unbelievable season last year.
Yeah,
shooting the basketball. Really one of the best shooters in the league last season. What was the exact percentage he finished at? Let me see.
All I know is he saved the Suns role players because their depth was also
guess what percentage he finished at? Leading the league, by the way, in
from
3-point percentage. Yeah.
46.
Right on the fucking money. I don't know. We don't typically swear on this. That's how shocked I was. 46.1% from deep. Like, he was not missing last season. Finished 10th in MIP talks too. So shout out to Grayson Allen for kind of finding that role. Okay. Yeah, I think C's fine. He's a steady role player. We again talk about it.
I don't people think that C tier means these players are bad. C is solid.
C is like a high level contributing role player.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think C is still solid.
Yeah. B is guys with maybe like a little bit more upside. C is like these really high level role players. A is like kind of all-star, like borderline all-star level impact. And yeah, it's all relative. I don't know if we're gonna have anybody in the F tier as I'm looking at this.
I don't think we're either looking at the list.
Jimmy Butler is, I think, the last guy we have to have a conversation about with the S tier.
I think he's an A. So I think he and Paul George are on really similar avenues right now.
Going on, yeah. If it was after last season, he would be S tier. I think going off this year, where he only played 60 games, the efficiency, like he shot 41% from deep, which was great. From the field overall, it was down. He was a bit injured. We didn't see him in the playoffs have his typical run. I think I'm good. I feel like him and Paul George are relatively
close. If we had A+ tier, I think that's Paul George and Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I'm cool with this A tier at the moment. Yeah, we can continue that.
Okay.
Aaron Nesmith, I think that's another C.
Yeah, he had a very solid year last year. It's funny because a lot of people, I think, thought he was a lost cause, and it was almost like a throw-in in the trade from Boston to Indiana. And I think he's kind of carved out a little niche there. He's
become one of my favorite role players in the NBA. Like, I love watching Aaron Nesmith, the way he competes defensively, because they needed somebody last season, and he really stepped up. He knocks down threes at a really high clip, 41%. And when he entered the league with Boston, the thing was, hey, he's going to be an amazing shooter from day one. And he wasn't. And that quickly tanked, I think, a lot of his value, perceived value, that is. And then, yeah, when the Brogdon trade happened, people are like, oh, all this I decided to give up was like Aaron Nesmith in this deal. And I think it was Daniel Tice. It was a fleece. And Brogdon was the sixth man of the year for the Celtics. He was great. And he was used later on to help them make the Jrue Holiday trade. So that worked out. And I think for the Pacers too, it worked out great. Like getting Nesmith, who again is a really high level role player and gives them exactly what they need. So it's one of those kind of win-win trades if we look back on it.
Absolutely.
Jalen Williams.
I know you want to put him in the A tier.
I do.
All right, can we hear his stat line real quick?
You can hear his stat line.
All right, tell it to me. Then I'm
gonna this is my point where I want to be biased.
Tell me his stat line real quick, and then I'm gonna say something, and then you can just go all Thunder fan.
Okay.
So tell me his stat line.
His stat line this past season was 19.1 points per game, 4 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1.1 steals, shot 54% from the field, 42% from 3, and 81% from the line.
Okay. So those percentages are really good. Don't get me wrong. But at least counting stats wise, if he feels more in the Kuzma, MPJ, RJ.
I mean, he's like a point per game below Ingram. He's a few points per game below Paul George, and he's right below Jimmy. He's like kind of right there. This is the moment where I'm projecting. I think Jalen Williams is about to, I think he's going to average like 23, 24 points per game this season. When you take a look at the numbers on
even with Shea playing next to him and Chet and all this.
Yeah, because Giddey is gone now. And like Giddey's usage
is gone.
The big problem was that Giddey's usage was so high. And if you look at the numbers when Jada was playing and Giddey wasn't on the court, even if it was like him and Shea, the numbers skyrocketed for him. He was still hyper efficient. It wasn't like he was scoring more, but being less efficient. He's a really solid defender. The playoffs were a little bit rough. He was fine in the Pelican series, but in the Mavericks series, there's a bit up and down. His first is a 2 option. This is me projecting. I think J-Dub is about to have an all-star level season. He might not make it because the West is stacked, but I think he's going to have an all-star level impact. And I think he already kind of did this past season. So that's my argument for J-Dub in the A tier. I'm going to put him there for right now. We can come back to it. You let me know how you feel later.
You can put him in A tier. We'll let the comments let you have it.
I would say right now, I would rather have Jalen Williams on my team than Brandon Ingram.
Okay.
So that's part of my thought process.
Well, here's the thing. I would too, because Jalen Williams is like 5 years younger than him.
I'm saying just straight up this year,
season?
Just straight up, yeah. Okay. He's a better 3-point shooter. The defense is a little bit more there. He just had one of the most efficient jump shooting seasons ever. That's my argument for Jalen Williams.
Right,
I will let the comments tear me apart if they want to.
Let's let the comments hear it. Is the guy that's never been an all-star, an A-tier small forward. Let's hear it.
No, neither is OG. I'll say that.
OG also gets paid like $200 million though.
Give it time. As much as it's going to break the Thunder's bank, give it time. Okay. DeAndre Hunter. Another C.
I think another C, which kind of sucks because we're both big DeAndre Hunter fans. And I think for a while he was like, I think a lot of people consider DeAndre Hunter to be OG Anunoby light. He kind of came out of college.
It felt like he was going to grow into that mold. Yeah, it just hasn't really happened. Main thing has been injuries. Like he's only played over 60 games once since his rookie season. This past year was 57 games on and off the bench, shot 38% from deep. Like he was good. He's a really solid defender too. 15.6 points per game. He's a good player. I mean, looking at those numbers, probably feels like he should be maybe more of a B, but I just can't trust him to be on the court. And it's really just, he doesn't have a lot outside of that spot up game. DeAndre Hunter isn't going to do a ton outside of his comfort zone. He feels a lot like a Cam Johnson to me.
Yeah.
They're not very close.
I would like to see DeAndre Hunter put on a new team.
He is one of those players I would like to see in a new team. I want to see him in like a winning situation as well. Max Strus feels like another C. It just feels like we're kind of racking these guys up.
I just think like, I don't know. Was he kind of disappointing last year for the Cavs? I didn't pay attention too much. I feel like he wasn't that good.
He was fine. It was a bit of an up and down season. Like 3-point wise, he shot 35.1%, which was right above where he was last season with Miami. 12.2 points per game, like 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He was fine. He wasn't anything too insane for them. He did have a couple of really solid playoff games, I remember right now. I'm looking at his stats, and maybe I'm not remembering right because he averaged 9.5 points per game. I thought I remembered at least one game where he kind of went off, or maybe I'm thinking back to the Miami. No, okay, I think it was, that's his regular season stats. Where's his playoff stats? Here we are. I think I'm just misremembering because his highest scoring game was 16 points. I think it was maybe it was just like a quarter or a half where he kind of went off. I remember there was one stretch where Max Strus was just hitting a few shots. He was a good spark of energy for them, but it wasn't the revelation I think a lot of people were hoping for last season. So I don't know. It's a little tough. Denny Avdia.
This is a hot take for me. I think he's B.
Denny is interesting.
He was really good at the end of the year for the Wizards. Like he was like hooping.
Yeah.
I'd be okay to put him at C tier, but I like his upside and I hope he gets I think Portland, if they use him as
I'm excited that he's over in Portland now. Yeah. That's a spot that's a lot better for his game, I think. And it's funny because I feel very good that Portland's going to be the worst team in the Western Conference next year. but I don't even know how bad that team's going to be. They have Simons, they've got Denny, they've got Jeremy Grant, they have Ayton, Robert Williams. Like, they have talented players. If Scoot takes a bit of a jump, Shaedon Sharpe as well. I don't even think it's that bad of a team, but it feels like they're the least talented team in the West. But yeah, Denny last season was right around 15 points per game, 7 boards, 4 dimes. The 3-point shot was around 37%. Denny's good. I don't know if I'm ready to move him quite to B tier yet. I guess it depends how much we want to project. If you think Denny's going to have a big breakout season, we can move him to the B tier.
Are you on Basketball Reference?
Yeah.
Can you do like his from like February on and tell me what he's
I can do that on
I think he's probably averaging over 20 a game.
Let's see. Denny FD stats since February 1st, 2024. Let me do averages. Since February 1st, he averaged 18.6 points per game, 9 rebounds, 4 dimes, shot 51% from the field with 37% from deep.
That's a pretty freaking good play.
It's a really good player.
Double, 40% from 3. I mean,
I put J-Dub in A. If you want to put Denny as your take in B,
Denny's my B tier. I'm putting Denny.
I will let him do it. We're getting off the rails. I'll let him have it. He let me have J-Dub in A.
I did.
You can flame me for Dub. You can flame him for Denny.
No one in that C tier is a double threat like Denny and put up the same shooting splits. I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay. Trey Murphy III. He feels like a really high-level C guy, I think.
I almost want to put him in B as well. I think he just doesn't have the high volume role that some of these other guys have, but I think the talent, I think he is on par with. I think if he was on like in the situation some of these other guys were, he would.
He's part of the reason why I kind of want to see them trade Brandon Ingram, because I want to see Trey Murphy get more run. Yeah, he played 29.6 minutes last year, shot 38% from deep, 15 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2 dimes. Brings some solid intensity on the defensive end, has some good length.
He was drafted as defensive first player.
Yeah, Trey Murphy's tough. I still think I have him in C. I think he's maybe the peak of C tier. He's like there.
I think in a bigger role though, he would move up.
Yeah. Jaden McDaniels feels like a solid B guy.
I was gonna go. You think B? I was thinking
C. All defensive player. All defensive player. He did only average 10.5. Like, the offense isn't quite there, but I think it's similar to the OG scenario where the impact, I think, gets him up to that level.
Okay.
Was a little bit up and down 3-point shooting wise. I could see why you argue him for C. I just feel like for an all defensive guy who was really a glue piece on that Timberwolves team, I feel like I'm good with him in B.
I mean, is he much better than Dort?
I thought Dort could be in B tier potentially. I guess with Jay McDaniels, better rim finisher, he is a better defender than Lu Dort, I would say, because he has that extra length that Lu doesn't really have.
Okay.
So I think I would say yeah.
Okay, I can live with that.
Asar Thompson, D.
Yeah, it's a shame because Asar started off the year really good. Like,
Monty Williams hated him.
Well, because he started playing like, I know this sounds bad, but like I do a lot of FanDuel. I just remember Asar Thompson's rebound line being at like 9.5. Like,
he's a rebounding menace, bro.
And like he put up some good, he was playing some good basketball to start the year, and then Monty Williams was just like, you know what? Nah, we good.
I feel like Monty Williams was trying to get fired not even low key. I feel like it's very like, oh yeah.
When he was benching Jaden Ivey and Asar Thompson.
Yeah. The problem with Asar is he can't shoot for anything. Guess Asar Thompson's 3-point percentage this past season.
I think it was like 20 something.
Lower.
Under 20?
Under 20.
17.
A little better.
18.
18.6%.
How many attempts a game?
It's so bad. 1.8. Like they were like, bro, stay open as much as you want. The good thing for him is he is a hyper level athlete. Him and Amon, they're two of the most athletic players I've ever seen. And he's already a really solid defender. I remember last season, we played the Pistons, the Thunder, like third game of the season or something like that. And Asar Thompson, all the way to the end of the season, had one of the best defensive games on Shea maybe I've ever seen, definitely this past season, for sure. He was unbelievable. The length is there. He fouls a little bit because he is a rookie. That's going to be typical of rookies. They're kind of just finding their way with the officiating and the physicality. But Asar Thompson is going to be like an all-defensive lock nonstop in the prime of his career, assuming the offense comes around at least a little bit. If he develops a three-point shot, he is the ultimate role player. It'll take some time if it ever happens because him and Amon really can't shoot, and Asar was specifically abysmal. But, I mean, the crazy part is he still shot 48.3% from the field despite 18.6% from three. So inside the arc.
What's his free throw percentage?
Free throw percentage 60%. So not that promising, but yeah, it could definitely be worse. For a 19% 3-point shooter, honestly, not that bad. So I'm just hoping for some more development from him this season.
We're not giving up on him.
Not at all. No, I'm very excited about Ausar this year. And he's going to be playing next to Sixer legend Tobias Harris now. So
real quick, before I think these last two are interesting. Can we agree that Taurean Prince is D tier?
Yeah, for sure. We don't need to get that into that.
And then Dillon Brooks probably C?
Yeah, I think I'd have Dillon Brooks at C. He's kind of like
he's in that Lou Dort, Trey Murphy, Cam Johnson, DeAndre Hunter.
Yeah, like Dillon Brooks was really good this season. A bit more playing in himself rather than trying to do everything. It did pop up a little bit more towards the end of the season, but yeah, shout to him, like improved the efficiency 36%, 12.7 points, was still a good defender. So yeah.
People clowned him because he's kind of a mean player, but he's actually a very solid like glue piece, I feel like.
Yeah, it's tough when he was like in Memphis, and that's a team everybody hates when the young team takes that rise. That happened with the Thunder last year. It's going to happen this season again. Everyone loves the young team when it's like, oh, they're a fun story, and then when they become legitimately good, they're like, oh, I hate this team actually. Yeah. It happened to the Grizzlies, and Dillon Brooks kind of became the face of that. He's just a solid player, like especially last season.
When his shot selection is actually like a normal human being too, I think he's a lot better. I think towards the end of his Memphis tenure, he was just like playing a little bit too much a hero ball.
Yeah, it was definitely getting a little bit egregious is the word I think on some of the shots. Desmond Bane feels like an A.
I want to talk about these last two real quick together.
Okay.
I think one of them is an A and one is a B.
I think Desmond Bane is the A. I think Franz is the B.
Yeah. I think Desmond Bane just like really broke out without Ja Morant last year. And like people might say, not that it's a fluke, but they say, oh, his numbers are going to go way down when Ja's back. But I think he's still going to be really good. And
yeah,
I don't know, man. I like how him and Maxey were both kind of late in that draft, and they're really good.
I love Desmond Bane's game. I mean, this past season, it's also like Ja Morant sets things up for him a lot. He is that.
Might even be better with Ja Morant. I mean, who knows?
The numbers might not be better, but honestly, the numbers may even be better because he only played 42 games last year.
He was the only guy on the team. It was literally there were nights where it was Desmond Bane and like the random people in the streets. They went like, all right, you suit up.
They just picked up fans outside the arena and were like, yo, y'all play basketball. Desmond Bane, 24 points per game, right about 5.5 assists, 4.4 rebounds, 38% from deep, which was the lowest mark of his career, by the way. With Ja Morant, he's going to be back above a 40% shooter. I love Desmond Bane's game. Absolutely love his game. And then for Franz, really solid defender, a bit of a Swiss Army knife. The finishing is really, really good for him too. He's just got to refine his three-point shot. I don't know what happened from his rookie season till now where he just forgot how to shoot the three ball. Even like last season, it was 35% rookie year, 36% second year, 28% this past season. He just forgot how to shoot.
On a Magic team that has no spacing too. So maybe having some more spacing will help him out. I don't know if maybe his looks were just bad or if he was missing wide open looks. I don't know the exact stats on that.
If I was logged into B-Ball Index right now, I'd take a look at his shot quality on three-point shots, but I don't want to go through that whole process at the moment. Yeah. I do think that the spacing will definitely help out a lot. For Franz, adding KCP will be big. Paolo has improved as a shooter. Jalen Suggs has become a solid shooter. If they can get some more guys to develop and maybe even make another addition, I agree. It'll definitely help him out. He's just got to also knock down those open ones. And that's the thing that unlocks his game because with his ability to get downhill, his great cutting, his great finishing, that defense, he does everything really well. If he gets that three-point shot back even to a league average level this upcoming season, Franz could very well be an all-star. Wouldn't be surprised me at all if him and Paolo.
I think Franz could definitely make a leap into the A tier. It's just like what Connor said. We just need to get the shot back.
Yeah, if his three-point shot starts falling, he's up there in the A tier for sure. It's not much of a conversation. He's towards the top of this B tier for sure. But okay, that's
our list actually.
Yeah, I don't think we really need to change anything off the bat. I mean, we put nobody in F tier because it just doesn't feel like there's anybody who's like just that bad. Everybody provides a little bit of something, like the defense for Ausar, the defense for Bilal Coulibaly. I know Lakers fans kind of hated Taurean Prince, but he was fine this past season shooting the basketball, even if it was a bit streaky, and he put up like 9 points per game. Like nobody's just bad, I feel like, on this tier list. And Taurean Prince obviously is the quote-unquote small forward for the Bucks. That's where they put him as, so I went with that. But yeah, I mean, I feel fine with this, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the C tier is a little crowded, and I do think that maybe the guys towards the front of C tier are a little bit better. But at the same time, it's just like they're all guys that either do one thing really good or they're like pretty solid at everything, but don't jump off the page with anything in particular.
So. Yeah, it's kind of what we talked about, I think, with the shooting guards, where with point guards, it felt very easy. And I think with centers, it might be a little bit easier as well because it's point guard and center feel more defined. I mean, obviously, it's becoming more and more varied in terms of skill sets across the positions than it's ever been. But if they feel more defined than like the wing positions of shooting guard, small forward, you get to fours as well. It's going to be an interesting list too. But I mean, I feel good about this. Like, I think this one's fine. There are a couple of things that if we thought about a little bit longer, maybe we could move up and down a little bit. Like maybe the more I'm thinking about it, maybe we could move J-Mac down, but he is an all defensive guy. I think I'm cool with this. We're buying the RJ Barrett upside. Ryan's the Denny believer. I got my bias off of Jalen Williams. We're going to stick with this for the moment.
I think too, if we had like plus and minus tiers, like I think like,
yeah, for sure.
I think probably the first 5 in that C tier we had would probably be a C plus or even a B minus. You know what I mean? And then like, I think Jimmy and Paul George would probably be A plus, you know, certain things like that, but we don't want to like get it too crazy with it. Cause then at that point, if we just add a bunch of plus minuses, then it's basically like we're ranking them 1 through 30. And that's kind of not what the goal is of this. The goal is to kind of like separate them into different tiers, not like have one S tier, 1 A plus, you know what I mean? Cause then we're kind of just ranking them, I feel like.
Yeah. It's more fun when it's tiered like this. There are players that are better than other ones in the same tier, but
it's
all relative.
It's all relative.
There you go. We had it. We're staying steady. What was the other word?
Solid and steady.
Solid and steady. We're just
solid and comment either team solid or team steady in the comments.
Team solid is a crazy thing to comment.
Team solid or team steady.
If you're team solid, let us know down below in the comments, or team steady.
Are you team solid or team steady?
I'm team steady.
I'll be team solid. I'm cool with that. Let's do it. If you're with me, you're team solid. If you're with Cone, you're team steady.
If you're with Ryan, you're team solid. We appreciate y'all tuning into the podcast as always. Let us know down below in the comments what we got right, what we got wrong, and make some predictions for the Power 4 tier list. Yeah, leave a like and subscribe. Like I said earlier, if you're over on Spotify, rate 5 stars, download all that stuff. Subscribe to the YouTube channel too. Again, if we hit 1,000 subscribers before the season, we will be giving away a shirt or a jersey or something. We'll be doing something, so you don't want to miss out on that. And that's all we've got for now. You got anything else?
Nah, man. We'll see you next Monday for the Power Forwards.
We'll see y'all for Power Forwards. Appreciate y'all. Take care. Peace.